Hi everybody, welcome to episode 23 of the Teesside Business Podcast. Today we are very lucky to have Nathan from Solid Blue Liquid in to see us. Thank you very much for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we'll get started. Obviously you've watched a couple of the podcasts, so you know what it's all about.
Yep.
If you want to start off by telling us who you are, a little bit about your career history, and then we'll start talking obviously about your company.
Okay, so as you introduced me already, I'm Nathan Platt. I run the company Solid Blue Liquid, which is right behind me. Where I've been, what I've done. I have worked in IT for over 20 years, and I've worked for companies like Sage, HP, Apple, NetApp, and I wouldn't be surprised if you don't know who they are.
Not NetApp, no.
No, the rest you would.
Yeah.
But ironically, NetApp actually run a lot of the storage for all those other companies.
All right, okay.
So they're kind of like the power behind the throne.
Yeah.
Then I've also worked, my last real job I had was at Ramsden's Financial, and I worked for them for about 3 years, but it was 2 years, then a break, and then came back because they had a redundancy point, so I moved on. A bit more about me. As you probably guessed from my accent, I'm not generally from around here, but I am actually, because I was born in Middlesbrough. But I grew up in Northern Ireland.
All right, okay.
So hence the dodgy accent. My dad's Northern Irish, my mum's English. So I come from a lovely, very neutral family in terms of Irish politics.
Yep.
So I don't have any of that kind of like, Protestant Catholic rubbish.
Yeah.
For me, I was an English person in Ireland, so I didn't fit in there. When I came over here, I'm an Irish person in England.
Yeah.
That makes some sense.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, so that's me. So company-wise, we've been running for just about 2 and a bit years now. And we originally, when I was going to start the company, it was going to be an IT services company.
Yep.
But then when I did all my market research, went, oh my God, how many of them are in Middlesbrough?
Yeah, there's a ton.
There's loads. And one of the ones I used to work for has recently started to kind of cave into Middlesbrough area, which is Razor Blue.
Yep.
So they've started really coming in. So, it's a good job I didn't, because now I'd be fighting against 2 quite large ones.
Yeah, because Razor Blue's in a few locations, isn't it?
Yeah, they started off in Catterick.
Yep.
And then when I was there, they then opened up another branch in Wynyard.
Yeah, one of our
Leeds.
customers is literally next door to them.
Yeah. So they're getting much bigger, and they're obviously the competitors to people like Cornerstone, ITPS, and all these companies do very similar things to what we do.
Yeah.
But the difference is we decided to niche it down more.
Yeah.
Kind of focus on the one area, rather than trying to be a master of too many things at once. Now, I can do a lot of those things, but I generally stay away from it because otherwise I'd have nothing. I would have too much to do.
Yeah.
And I would be sitting there going, oh God, I need sleep.
Yeah.
Which has happened recently as well. Anyway. But yeah, so that's the gist about me, the company, where we came from and everything else.
Okay. So one of the things obviously we were talking, as we were saying with everybody just before the podcast, is hosting. So obviously it's what you guys do, but not a lot of people know either what it is. That generally, if you've got a website, you have it, but not a lot of people realise. So for anyone listening who is not quite sure what it is, what exactly is hosting? What do you guys do?
Okay. This is probably the $1 million question.
Yeah.
And again, as you said, most people would either really know what it is or have no idea. To put it, I'm trying to think of a way to put it in such a way that won't insult people, but at the same time will be easy enough to understand.
I think the best way is to treat everybody like a 5-year-old, and if they know it, then they know it. And we apologise ahead.
Absolutely perfect. So techie people, sorry.
Yeah.
Non-techie people, I'll do my best. So the way the internet works in general with websites, you're a web developer, or you build your website on either using good old-fashioned HTML, the old school way. You do it in coding with things like PHP or JavaScript, all those sorts of lovely, complicated languages. Or, for 95% of the people in the world, WordPress.
Yeah.
So WordPress is all, for a lack of a better description, it's just a content management system.
Yep.
You can run it on your computer at home. And you could serve that to the internet if you wanted to. The problem is you don't have the infrastructure to do it right.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do it. You can do it with a Raspberry Pi. You could do it with your mobile phone if you hacked it.
Yeah.
Anything can do it. It's a computer. But the problem, what we do is, the hosting side is all about, we provide the servers and the infrastructure to present your website and email to the internet.
Okay.
So your developer builds the site, makes the files, and uploads the files to our server.
Okay.
And then our server acts as the go-between between your browser
Yep.
and those files.
Okay.
So that's the basic way to describe it. It goes into massive amounts of complication when it comes to things like DNS records, MX records, all these sorts of things that people don't care.
Yeah.
They just want me to fix it.
Yeah.
And generally, I spend most of my day doing things like that.
Okay.
You know, it'll be little queries about, like, I want to set up a testing site. How do I do it?
Yeah.
And it'd be like, yeah, okay, go under here, do this, do this, do this. And then they go, I'm not sure about that. Okay, I'll do it for you.
Okay.
So that's the big difference between someone like me or the bigger companies where they
it's trying to get
it's a
through
bit
to
more
somebody.
personal,
Yeah.
and you know, the likelihood is you will speak to me because we have a 24/7 support team
Yeah.
that's based out in India, but we don't let them talk to you
Yeah.
because the majority of people I've known working in call centers and IT a lot, people don't like speaking to the Indian call centers.
Yeah.
But their written English
Yeah.
is perfect.
Yeah, of course.
And they know their stuff.
Yep.
So our tickets are looked after by them and me.
Yeah.
And if it's something they can't deal with, they escalate up to me.
Yeah.
So the likelihood is if you ring in, you speak to me.
Yep.
If you email in, you could speak to them or me.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. Also, that means I can sleep.
Yeah.
Because they do it all night long and I can have a day
course.
off and they still do it.
Yep.
So that's pretty much hosting and how we do it.
Okie dokie. So, who is it for, in lack of a better term? Is it a case of literally any business out there, or, well, even I suppose things like blogs and things like that require, anything like that? Is it literally for any of those people, or specific types of industries, things like that you prefer to work with? Or?
Well, it is for anyone. And it's one of those most annoying conversations when a business manager says to you, like, so who's your target?
Yeah.
And the answer is everyone.
Yeah.
And they go, well, it can't be everyone. Right? No, it really is. But there are very specific people I prefer to work with. So at the moment, the majority of my customers tend to be sort of businesses my size, so small SMEs.
Yep.
Because they've been with big companies or they've been with other like businesses and they've either felt like they've been taken advantage of, or they don't understand it well enough themselves, and they just want someone to hold their hand.
Yeah.
And by having someone they can ring and speak to consistently, it makes their life easier.
Yeah.
But generally, if I'm doing my job right, I don't speak to anyone for weeks.
Yeah. Because there's no, like, I
because I
suppose,
haven't
like
broke
most
it.
services, they don't think of you till there's a problem.
That's right.
You know, I was saying there that I just had to send our boiler stopped working in the studio. So I messaged the plumber, but you don't think about it till it stops working, and then all of a sudden you need somebody.
That's right. So we just spent this 20 grand on all our new kit and kind of a push out to the Tees Valley Business Compass because they got me about 4 grand of grant for it.
Yep.
So it was fantastic. But that investment, what we've done is we've used it to make sure everything has a spare.
Okay.
So it's really simple in my terms, but to everybody else, it's this dark black art of IT.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I showed you some pictures, you'd go, "Oh my God, how do you know where all those cables go?"
Yeah, I think I've seen the pictures that somebody put it out. You stood between the service and
That's
things
it.
like
Yeah.
that.
So we have cabinets in the data center, and we use somebody else's data center because
it's a space thing, I imagine, as well.
and a pure cost factor.
Yeah, yeah.
To install a data center, you would need upward of about 5 million.
Yeah.
Just to start it. And then the running costs are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because in our industry, it's all about uptime.
Yeah.
So we have to guarantee 99.9%, otherwise we have to then start paying you back for failures. So the best thing I can do is to make sure that nothing can break.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of all the upgrades we're doing. And we've got, and I do apologize to some of my customers at work are watching because we have had issues while we've been doing it.
Yeah.
But it's been a kind of, we had to go through this pain to get us to this next stage. Because the whole point of this next stage, we've upgraded well more than we needed to.
Yeah.
So the idea is we probably don't have to do any upgrades for at least 5 years.
Oh, which is, phenomenal.
Fantastic. But if we do, we can fit it in to the infrastructure we have with minimal disruption now.
Yeah.
While the way we had it before, we had to turn things off to install everything.
Yeah.
So it's been 4 months of not much sleep, and I was working between 8 till 6 doing my normal job, and then I was up most nights between midnight and 4 doing the server work. And then there was a few nights where I ended up sleeping in the data center.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, so it's been a long slog, and I'm very glad to see it's on the other side of it now.
Yeah. Is the data center, is that local in Teesside?
It's in Newcastle.
In Newcastle, so pretty local.
The main reason for it is that, well, there's two reasons. One, I couldn't really find one in Teesside that was relevant, that wasn't owned by a competitor, really.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, even the people I'm with are sort of a competitor, but they're moving into more kind of like telephony, internet.
Yeah.
So they're moving away from what we did. They started where we were.
Yeah.
But they've moved off it. And they don't care about that stuff. So they're quite happy to let us do it. The other reason for it is the whole disaster recovery plans.
Okay.
Working in IT for 20 years, one of the things they told us about was the fact that you should always plan for everything to go wrong.
Yeah, of course.
And unfortunately, that plan also goes to the whole route of what happens if a city blows up.
Yeah. God. Well, yeah, I suppose it's worst case scenario.
Yeah, you're planning for nightmare.
Yeah.
You're not planning for, a hard drive's died.
Yeah.
Or one of the internet connections is down.
Yeah. God.
Although the data center itself has 4 separate internet connections with 4 different suppliers.
Oh, God.
So even if one did go, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the way our setup is. I unplugged half the plugs the other day.
Yeah.
Didn't tell anyone I was doing it. Nobody knew I did it, but I got 400 emails from the servers telling me I'd done it.
Yeah.
So they weren't happy.
Yeah.
But nobody knew.
Yeah. Which is...
That's the point of it.
Yeah, that's the whole... reason.
Yeah. So by having it 45 minutes to an hour away, if ICI were to be hit by a terrorist attack, I'd go up.
Yeah.
But the company would keep running.
Yeah.
Because it's up there.
Yeah.
And if the data center goes up, we have everything backed up to an off-site computer in Middlesbrough.
Okay.
That goes, it does it every Wednesday and Saturday. It just takes a copy of the backups on the data center back over here.
Yeah.
So if the data center blows up, we would be down for a couple of days. But at that point, I could go to another web hosting company, buy one of their servers, and upload everything to there and change everything around.
Yeah, so...
And then it would be, everybody's data would still be safe.
Yeah.
And although we'd have the downtime of having... Well, if the data center goes up, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, of course.
And in terms and conditions, we have lots of covers for those.
Yeah.
But that's not our biggest nightmare.
Okay.
Our biggest nightmare is a type of, well, I wouldn't call it terrorist attack, but a type of malicious attack called a DDoS.
Okay.
And if you've not heard of them, you probably would have, but you just don't know the name. It's called a distributed denial of service attack.
Okay.
And they are becoming more and more common every day.
Okay.
So the biggest one on record was actually the Rio Olympics.
All right, okay.
They actually fired about 600 gigabits per second of traffic at these servers to try to take them offline.
God.
Now, what a DDoS is, how it works, to kind of layman terms it down. Think of it, the server as a doorway. You know that doorway can take maybe 5 or 6 people at a time, going through it constantly.
Yeah.
What they do is they throw 15,000 people at it at once, and the door just stops.
Yeah.
You can't get through, there's no way to get through, and the whole thing just grinds to a halt.
Okay.
And you can't defend against them completely because it uses the way the internet works against itself.
Yeah.
So all they do is they've got zombies, is what we call them, which is computers, like it could be yours in your office that's been infected.
Yep.
And it just tells it to go to that site.
Yep.
And it just tells it, says, just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it constantly. And all it does is open the connection and keeps it open.
Yeah.
While a normal person traveling to a website would open a connection and then close it.
Yeah.
And
so
then
they couldn't
that
get
one's
there, they would just come off and
It
try
would just
again
come on and try again later.
Yeah.
But this malicious attack opens them and keeps them alive permanently.
Yeah.
So that's the nightmare scenario. And the best we can do with it, we've got firewalls in place that watch for these things.
Yeah.
And if it starts to notice those patterns, it starts to instantly blacklist these people.
Yeah.
But it can take about 6 million connections at once
Yeah.
before it overloads and says, I can't do anymore.
Yeah.
So every hosting company out there has a term in their terms and conditions that says, if we get hit by a DDoS attack, we'll do our best, but we can't promise anything.
Yeah, of course, because, it's unforeseen,
But that's all the disaster recovery stuff. It's crazy how much effort we have to go to to protect our customers. And considering a lot of our customers are paying roughly about £5 a month. So, you're talking 20 grand of investment for a £5 return.
Yeah.
So that's it's crazy.
Yeah, the length that you've got to go to kind of ensure it.
Yeah.
So talking about data and things like that, obviously protecting customers' data, it's been highlighted in the press and by a lot of people in our industry, and obviously the latest one was GDPR.
Oh, yes.
Did that hit you guys heavy, or was
Not
it
really.
No.
Luckily enough, because we're a data company, we already were data protection ready.
Okay.
And with GDPR, a lot of people didn't realize that the majority of the GDPR rules were data protection rules we already had in place.
Yeah.
If you were doing data protection right, you were about 95% of the way there.
Yeah.
It was mostly after that we found it was the marketing side.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately was so badly communicated that nobody got it right.
Yeah.
And in fairness, with the exception of Cambridge Analytica
Yep.
and Facebook, there's not been any fines about it yet.
No.
So the rules are still very grey on the whole side of marketing.
Yep.
But with the defense of the data, that's why I said how we do it is everything's behind the firewall. You can't access anything in that data center that's considered crucial data without a VPN connection.
Okay.
So unless you go in there, open the cabinet, which is locked and padlocked.
Yeah.
The only people who have access to it is me and the data center staff.
Yeah.
And it's all cameraed.
Yep.
And it's all, you have to get key cards. You have to book yourself in 24 hours in advance.
Yep.
So they have records of who's been in, why they've been in, which cabinet you've been into, what you're doing. So from a data protection, the only real way to kind of hack it through is they just keep going and keep trying.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's determined enough, they will get in.
Oh yeah, it's the same. Like somebody was telling me before, same as like your online banking. If somebody really, really knows what they're doing and they're really, really determined, then
The biggest way people hack into stuff now is social engineering.
yeah.
It's not actually, people don't really use password hackers or anything anymore because firewalls and servers are very good at catching them.
Yeah.
One of the biggest complaints I get from my customers is their IP address gets blocked.
Yeah.
Because the server's picked up that something's not quite right.
Yeah.
And rather than thinking, well, okay, I'll just let them through, it goes no and blocks them.
Yeah.
Then what happens is that if you keep getting blocked, it puts you on a permanent block list.
Yeah.
And the only way to fix that then is to log a ticket with us.
Yeah.
And at which point we'll look at the block and go, why you got blocked.
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 times it's because you haven't set your email up right.
Yep.
And you're trying to log into email with like a wrong password, a wrong username, and the server thinks you're trying to hack it.
Yeah.
So these defense mechanisms we put in place are an inconvenience.
Yeah. But
they're there for a good reason. And I always try to tell people that, yes, I know it's annoying.
Yeah.
But would you rather have me turn it off and then people could just keep trying and get in eventually?
Get into your emails and then
get into your emails, then use your email to then get into your bank.
Yeah.
And everything else. So it's a case of we talk a lot in IT about a security triangle. And you can imagine if the triangle's like this, you've got security at the top, usability at the side.
Yeah.
And then what happens is if you put it too high up the security, like I could make my servers secure as everything.
Yeah.
And nobody could get in. And the way I could do it is turn it off.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting in there.
Nope.
That's too high on the triangle.
Yeah.
Nobody can use it.
Yeah.
But if I go the other way where it's super easy to use and really convenient, then it's going to be easy to get into.
Yeah.
So that's why we always aim for, when you talk in IT terms, you always look at the customers you need and try to work out which part of that triangle they need to be in.
Yeah.
But as an IT professional, I want it as high up the security side as possible.
Yeah, it's that's feasible.
Yeah.
It won't cause problems, yeah.
We have ways around it for some customers because some customers need sites that have very open access because they use things like APIs and everything else.
Yep.
So what we do with them is we actually put them on virtual private servers.
Okay.
So they're completely separate from everyone else. And we now leave that up to you.
Yeah.
So if you want to leave it open to the world,
Yeah.
it can be.
Yeah.
But because it's hard drive software,
Yeah.
it can't talk to the other servers. So if someone hacks that, they could abuse it,
Yeah.
but it's not going to affect anyone else on the servers.
Yeah, just that.
Just
particular-
them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're going to come to me and go, oh, I've been hacked. I'm like, did you change your password?
Yeah.
No. Well,
Yeah.
change your password. Do you want me to wipe it and start again? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So when it comes to obviously start talking now a little bit about actually like being in business and running a business. How have you found it in Teesside? Because one of the things obviously that I wanted to talk to you as well is obviously we've met a couple of times through when we used to be a member of BNI, when I've seen you there and bumped into trade shows and things like that. You do like quite a bit of networking and things like that around Teesside. So how have you found it as a whole?
It's been good. I mean, I did a lot of networking up to the last 4 months because of all the equipment upgrade. I haven't had time to go out much. You'll see me more again from now on. But the irony is, most of my business has actually come from a couple of shared partnerships.
Yep. Okay.
So one of my best referral customers, and this is a plug for you, is Hypestar.
Okay.
James Lane.
I know James. I've heard of James Lane, but I'm not.
Yeah, he's one of these people everybody seems to know.
Yeah.
But he runs a training company, and what we did with them is we give they do a WordPress introduction course.
Okay.
And we give them 30 days free hosting for everybody on the course.
All right. Okay.
So that's a very good lead generator for us, and it's a very little effort for us to do. The irony is, most of my customers are now Northumbrian.
Yeah,
rather than Teesside, because he's in Sunderland, so
Yeah.
he gets a lot of the Northumbrian areas, and he used to do some work with one of the LEPs up there.
Okay.
So for fully funded stuff. Teesside wise, I find that I've built some fantastic relationships with people, and there's a lot of kind of bartering style business I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like for example, I work a lot with a little web development company in Darlington. And I'm constantly on the phone to their technical guy.
Yeah.
And I'll ring him up and go, I've got a problem with my site. And he'll go, oh yeah, here's your problem. And then he'll ring me up and go, I've got a problem with this hosting thing.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily with me.
Yeah.
But he just wants a little bit of advice. Yeah. So we're constantly doing that. And it's built up with all these customers. It's built up a very strong connection. And then that's where the referrals come from.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier before we hit the camera rolling about the events and things.
Yeah.
So I've done a couple of the trade shows. I did the Northeast Expo and I did Huddersfield Expo, which is a new one. And they've been very useful for getting me seen. So, you know, after those sorts of things, a lot of people knew who I was.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what I did. But at least they knew the name and the squiggle.
Yeah.
But you know, they haven't really generated a lot of business off the back of them. The irony is, the best one for getting me seen so far was actually Harvey Hugo.
All right, okay.
When we did all this like 20 grand release, and you even mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
They did the press release for me.
All right.
And they pushed it out, and then they went to Tees Valley Business Compass and got their permission for it and everything. And then after that, Ben, Tees Valley Mayor, I always forget how to say his surname, Houchin, I think.
Houchin. I may be wrong.
If I see you next week, and I'm sorry. Yeah. But I even just received a letter off him today. Or was it today? Probably this week. The days are blurring a bit now. But yeah, and it's been a really good way to catch people, see people. So Teesside, it's digitally, it's going through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, I met James from Mabel Media.
Yeah. James has been on. I think he was
number
two or three. He was,
well, I met them when they just moved into Boho 5.
Yeah, they've recently moved on.
They've the Alliance House.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No, it's the Royal Sun Alliance House.
Yeah.
But when they moved in there, they started off and they had half of that floor. And then they had the full floor.
Yeah.
Then they had multiple floors.
Yeah.
And now they've taken off this entire floor off the Royal Sun Alliance House. Yeah. And that's been 2 years.
Yeah. They started, I think, James might correct me when he watches it, but Stokesley, because obviously it's Lee Mabel.
Yeah, it was because I remember their phone number is still a Stokesley number.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so if you ring them, it's like an 01638 number.
Yeah.
And I said, why is it that number? Why not 01642? Yeah. And he said, oh, well, we've always had it.
Yeah, because they've come, like, I think Lee Melson, who owns, he was a great guy. He's come from there and things like that. Yeah, James is... we've done quite a bit of work with them. He's now obviously now their marketing director and stuff like that. But it's a great company.
But I mean, I've also got some. I knew, Spearhead. He's the guy who runs that. He used to be an old drinking buddy of mine. Okay. So the amount of companies I've seen that have come from nowhere and just got so big so quick in Teesside, it's scary.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping some of that comes my way.
Yeah, of course. Well, the good thing about obviously is as digital grows, it's something that's really, really focused on. I know we mentioned Boho 5 there. I don't know if it's still the case, but I think you did have to be a digital company to be able to.
You do. Yeah. In Boho 5 and the other ones, you can be anything.
Yeah.
But 5 is digital only.
Yeah. Which we've had like some friends there. Dave Roberts, who did our very first podcast, is in there, or he was in there.
Oh, that's XL.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's still in there.
He was on the top floor with them.
Yeah. But they basically, when the time came, they wanted his office. So basically, he managed to get an office, I think, that was double the size and a studio for the inconvenience of moving, so it worked out really well for him.
Oh, that's quite good.
There's loads. Obviously, there's... I want to say Sock Monkey. No, I
that's
think
them. They've taken up the top floor.
Yeah, they've taken up the top floor. I don't know the guys from there. Like, if you're listening, by the way, guys, I'd love to have you on.
Games developers?
Yeah. I know there is a few in Teesside. I know of Double 11, quite a big one.
They're in Boho 1.
Yeah, Boho 1, which are great guys. But I don't know what like Sock Monkey do specifically. I just thought it was a great name.
There's a great company that's in Victoria House, and if you've not spoken to them yet, you need to get them on Hobgoblin 3D.
All right, no.
Have you not heard of
them?
No. What they do is they do 3D printed models for Dungeons and Dragons.
All right, okay.
And it's very niche, but they get. I mean, I spoke to them a lot of times, and I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm a geek.
Yeah.
I am absolute nerdy geek. My room is full of Star Trek stuff and everything. I've got a lightsaber on the wall. But they started designing these things. They built their website, and they design them, and then they print them off, and they sell them all to the States.
Yeah.
So the majority of their customers are stateside.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact of they even printed a model like for me.
Yeah.
And when they started printing it, they had to stop.
Yeah.
Because the scale I gave it to them by accident
Yeah.
was huge. It's a spaceship. So my spaceship at home is about this size now. But if they'd left it printing, it would have been about that size.
Yeah, it was absolutely huge.
And if you were to pay for that, you'd be talking about 500 to 600 pounds to get it printed. Yeah. But yeah, if you can get them in, they're a great chat.
It's great, and we'd love to have them on. Like we've like 3D printing's a great stuff. We've done some content for one of our customers who are actually like the manufacture like teeth and dentures and things like that. Yeah. But a lot of that's now 3D printed. In the office next door, we've got like a boat that they printed off for us.
Have you heard about the 3D printing meat?
I've heard about it.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's getting to the stage where they're considering that instead of having cows and herds and things.
Yeah.
Because they're just to save space and to help the environment.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like the next big thing, but it's crazy now. Like, come to stuff you can 3D print.
I know, and I think Teesside is again. It's one of these areas that people don't shout out about enough.
Yeah,
we're terrible at it. Because I think I did my master's in marketing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things I remember is that marketing is great. It's fantastic, but you have to be very careful how you do it.
Yeah.
But in Teesside, a lot of people don't seem to want to do it.
No. Definitely there's a culture thing of not wanting to shout about themselves till they get to a certain level when they think, oh, actually we need...
I'm big now.
Yeah,
I can talk.
Now I should do this. But it's like that, well, I really shouldn't talk about what I do till I get to this level, which is crazy because talking about is how
the irony is, that's it. So if you don't actually, like, one of the main things we talked about is getting out there and being seen. And the early part of my business was all about me going and talking to people.
Yeah.
And the amount of different networkings I tried, and some of them were great, some of them were rubbish. I'm not going to name and shame, there's no point. But there was, and even some of them, like, I would go to one of them, and it just didn't do anything. But then I went to a variation of that one.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I still think the Muscle Club's one of the hardest ones.
Yeah.
But one of the easiest at the same time. Because there's not a single bit of structure to it.
No.
But as long as you can go around and open your mouth and be rude.
Yeah.
Because you have to walk in other people's conversations and go, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
And I think the Teessiders struggle with that.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious. You get these little businesses coming up and going, oh, hi, I'm a new start business and I do words.
Yeah.
Okay. What sort of words?
Yeah.
Tell me more. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay.
So it's something that obviously we talked about a lot on the podcast, and it's something that when people like start up and things like that, networking is one of the things that they always like talk about, and it kind of falls in Teesside. You've kind of got like really structured stuff.
Yeah, your B&Is.
Your B&Is and, Chamber of Commerce and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got some that's a bit more, like, in the middle, like fast lane events that Lou Murray does.
Yep. I unfortunately apologise. I missed that yesterday. Yeah.
I've never, like, despite Lou always on.
Have you not been to it yet?
I haven't, no. I know loads of people who go.
The food is fantastic.
Yeah. I've seen some of the places.
Even if you forget the networking side of it.
Yeah.
Bistro Pierre food, awesome.
Yeah. Because it used to be the Curing House, I think she did a few.
Yes.
And that's really nice in there.
That's where it started.
Yeah.
And then she sort of outgrew it.
Yeah.
And now she's over in the Bistro Pierre.
Yeah.
But just to kind of pimp up Lou a bit for a minute, she's just starting an evening one.
All right, okay. Because that's on lunchtime, isn't it? Sorry,
that's right.
I should have clarified that.
Yeah, so the Bistro Pierre is the lunchtime one. She's doing an evening one that's, I forgot when it's starting, but she's advertising it constantly. So just find her. Find out about it, but she's also started a Darlington one now.
All right, okay.
So if you're close to Darlington Teesside, you've got choices now of it. It's really good.
Yeah, but there, like I believe, from what I understand of it, that has a structure, but it's like a little bit looser, and then you've got stuff that's got no structure at all.
It's like this.
Yeah.
So what happens is you sit down for your lunch. And you sit down at your table and you just sit and talk over your lunch.
Yeah.
And then once the next course comes on, she moves you tables.
Oh, right, okay.
So one side, like, so for if it was us two, I would move, and someone would take my spot.
Oh, right, okay.
And then that lunch, their dessert, then comes to them, and then you're now on a different table to talk to another group of people.
Okay, that's a really
then
good idea.
after dinner, you move on for the coffee, and you change table again.
Yeah.
So you have a bit of opening network at the beginning. Then you've got that, and it's great food. It's good company.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of, and this is the only thing that a lot of people say in networking, it's all about seeing the same people.
Yeah.
And building up bigger relationships. And at Lou Murray's one, I could probably name about 15 people.
Yeah.
Because they're always there.
Yeah.
They're serial networkers.
Yeah.
And you know who you are.
Yeah. And everybody probably knows who you are, let's be honest. Carl Tom, I'll name and shame you because I don't care.
Oh, yes. He's the worst one.
Yeah, he loves it, Carl, so I don't
Carl's one, and you've got... Oh, she's going to kill me now that I can't remember her name. She's at Prismatic Wealth. She used to be Cornerstone.
Oh, I'm not sure.
You know who you are, and
yeah.
you will tell me off afterwards, but she's just as bad as Carl.
Yeah.
I always think back to the days of the North East Chamber of Commerce. Do you know Tom Warnock?
I heard of him, I don't know him.
Oh, he was the best at it.
Yeah.
I always said whenever he left, I want his diary.
Yeah.
Because then I'd know where to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you've got things like choice networking.
Yeah.
Which is sort of, it's got the structure like BNI, but with like the commitment.
Yeah.
So it's just like a pay-as-you-go one. So there's so much networking to go to, and I spend the majority of like the beginning of my week going through Eventbrite.
Yeah.
And trying to find things. But the nature of my job is, I can be called up randomly.
Yeah.
And said, oh, I've got a little niggle with my website. It's going a bit slow. And then it's a case of, right, well, I can't go to that networking now.
Yeah.
I have to fix the
first.
problem. Yeah,
of course.
That's it. And most of these problems, the irony is, they're quick fixes.
Yeah.
Or they're caused by something they've done.
Yeah.
Because unless I'm turning servers off, it's generally little problems that I get called up about. If I turn a server off or if I break something, I get everybody ringing me at once.
Yeah.
Which is never fun.
No.
Yeah, so that's all part of the disaster planning.
Yeah.
We've just upgraded our phone system. It's now got an inbuilt IVR that you can actually push a button to say, if you're having a problem with your website, we're aware of the issue.
Yeah.
Otherwise, please hold the line, someone will help you. So one button push changes the voiceover to say that.
Which is phenomenal.
Which is brilliant. But yeah, and I'll stop because I could talk for all day.
No, it's fantastic. So if I'm going to have to start calling it the magic wand. Like if I have a magic wand where I can make changes, business, is there anybody in Teesside that you would like to build more partnerships with or have as customers, things like that? Are there any kind of like people that it would be really worthwhile for you to obviously maybe sit down and have a coffee with, etc.?
The biggest ones I want to talk to is I want to talk to web developers.
Okay.
The biggest issue I've got with that is, and they'll agree with me on this one, is that once you get in with a hosting company, it becomes a nightmare to leave.
Yeah.
Because if you've got 300 customers, moving them from one host to another, it's just a ball ache.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I want to catch them at the beginning, very early on, and they're my big ones. I'd love to meet people who have bigger websites that are not quite performing as well as they like.
Yeah. Are we talking like e-com stuff where they sell things online rather than like most of the ones in Teesside, like brochure ones that tell a bit about what you do.
Yeah, the brochure ones, if anybody tells you anything other than this, they're lying, are fine on shared hosting.
Yeah.
Because unless you have a brochure website that's full of videos and images and everything else, you don't need much.
No.
But the e-commerce sites out there, what a lot of people underestimate, how quickly they can grow. And also, Google is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because Google, if you've got an e-commerce site, and especially if you're using WordPress, WordPress creates 3 images every time you put one up. Yeah. And Google wants to find them all.
God.
So if you have a catalog of 2,000 products, there's actually 6,000 images.
God.
So Google's Spider and Bing's one and Yahoo's one all go on your site and completely go at it. Yeah. So even if you're not actually getting that many customers through, your site's quite heavy. Yeah. And shared hosting has a lot of restrictions on it to stop it. And that's where we move into the wonderful world of VPSs that we mentioned earlier. Yeah. And they're not drastically expensive in comparison. I mean, the basic ones start at something like £20 a month. Okay. And even moving into one of those at the bottom end can still help. Yeah. speed up your site. So they're the sorts of people I'd like to speak to more.
Okay, dokie.
So if you can wave that magic wand, that
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
really good.
If I can ever get this magic one going, I'm going to be able to.
I tell you what, I should have brought in the wife's one. She's got an actual replica Harry Potter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I should have brought it in and given it to you.
Well, as you've probably seen, we've got loads of like memorabilia kicking about.
I know, I like the swords.
Yeah. We've got in our other office, we've got loads of just like, I don't even know the word to describe our office. It's a bit of a mishmash of everything. So part of the podcast where we ask everybody the same 3 questions.
Okay.
Have you seen them? On some of the earlier podcasts, we didn't start doing it. We started doing it.
I must have missed them.
That's okay. We've only started doing it probably in the last, I want to say, 10 or so-ish.
Yeah. But this will be fun then if I don't know what's coming.
It's okay. We generally, people don't. The person who we did the last podcast with, his market manager had prepped him and told him. So it's not as fun that way. Okay, so the 3 questions in order that we ask everybody is, the first one is, what is your idea of success? Now, it's different for everybody, and it's interesting to hear what people say. We've had such a varied degree of answers. People say that they want X amount in the bank. Some people say they want to be famous. Some people said, I just want to work 2 hours a day and spend the rest of my kids. Like, everybody's different. And it's good for like people to kind of see that it's not just one size fits all. Especially if you're starting up in a business thing, oh God, well, I need to be this massive business. You don't actually. You just need to do what's right by you.
Yeah, you have to decide at some point in your business whether or not you wanted to take it past the lifestyle and into a super business.
Yeah.
Or if you just think, well, this is enough for me.
Yeah. There was a great guy who done one of our earlier podcasts. He didn't get asked the 3 questions, actually. He's one of our earlier ones. A great guy called Mark Simpson. He's got a company called Boostly. I'll give him a bit of a shout out here. And what it is he does marketing, but only for, what's the word I'm looking for? Like hotels and guest houses and things. So he specialises... Hospitality, in the hospitality area. So he specialises in TripAdvisor and Booking.com and how to market on these platforms. But he wants to set up his business so it gives him a lot of freedom of time. And he has, and it's a great thing. Okay, so that one's the first one. The second one is, have you ever had a setback or a failure at any point in life that has later led on to success?
Yeah.
So it seems bad at the time, but leads on to something really good. Everybody has. It's just a good thing to put out there, because when people realise that, failure isn't final, I believe the phrase is. And then the third one, it's probably really interesting for you, is one thing that you're completely obsessed with at the moment. We've had gadgets, we've had TV shows, we've had... like Dan Main, who came on for the drone stuff, was really obsessed with a new drone he just bought just before he came on, so he was very eager to get finished so he could go out and fly it. So we've had anything and everything. So we'll start at the beginning, work our way through. Success. What does it look like to you?
Well, I don't have to worry about the famous bit because I come from a famous family.
Okay.
My dad's ex-international footballer.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, from Middle...
David.
Jim Platt.
Jim Platt, sorry.
Yeah, so for the die-hard Middlesbrough fans, they'll all know who he is.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about that one. And in fact, for years, I wanted to do that. So I would be in... Well, not football. I wanted to be the famous part.
Yeah.
So I would do plays, musicals, everything.
Yeah.
So it was all about getting out into the limelight and getting spotlight when I was younger. Now, I think for me, because I've worked in IT and customer services, and I've done a lot of problem solving and helping people, I want to run a company where everybody feels like I care still, and that it brings me in a really good income so that I can have the life I want.
Yeah.
And I think, part of me wants to run up to this super mega corporation.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm honest with myself, I'd rather build it up to a big enough point that someone wants to come gobble me up.
Yeah.
And then I can pay off all my mortgages and go find a boat and go sail the oceans like a pirate.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of like my sort of end of life rule. That would be success for me. Yeah. Just as long as I think people are talking about me the right way, and also that people are talking about the business the right way, that would be good enough for me.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it, actually. So the second one is, what kind of, have you ever had a failure or a setback that seemed like the end of the world at the time, but actually led on to really good things down the line?
Yeah, April this year.
Okay.
We had an absolute mayhem server crash.
Oh, right, okay.
We didn't lose anybody's data because we kept everything backed up off-site, but the server itself had to be rebuilt from scratch.
God.
Twice.
God.
Yeah, so, and this was, you remember I said earlier before we started that I had to sleep in the data center?
Yep.
That was when.
All right, okay.
I went in the data center to do a patch. It was a quick patch, and the idea was we'd go in there, we'd run a software update on the server, and then reboot it. And then it should have been a case of, dong, off we go.
Yep.
when we did the patch and turned it back on, the server came on, but none of the virtual machines would come back on.
Oh, God.
So that's 90 customers sitting there with no internet connection,
Right.
no email, nothing. So I tried to restore all the backups back remotely, but that failed. So I had to drive back home from Newcastle, pick up the backup server, bring it to the data center, do the restore again.
God.
And then after 16 hours, I then had to sit there and do each site one by one. So in total, it actually ended up being about 32 hours worth of work, straight with no sleep.
Yeah.
I then spent the next week paranoid about sleeping
Yeah,
in case something went wrong.
wrong, yeah.
Now, what that led to is this 20 grand of new kit.
Yeah.
Because before that, I've been talking to my mum, who's ex-Sage marketing manager. She was there for 11 years, so she is my marketing guru.
Yeah.
So I use her for everything like that. But I also use her as a sounding board to stop my IT geeking.
Yeah.
Because if the money was left to me, I'd buy every bit of IT equipment I could find.
Yeah.
But it would have no business sense.
Yeah.
Like, I want to buy a brand new laptop that's
Yeah.
an i7 over the top just because I can.
Yeah.
And I have to fight those urges. Yeah. So I was fighting it, and then this all happened. And I went, right, that's it. We've got to do it. So we went back to Transmit Startup Loans. I paid off my first loan already, and I went back and I want to top up.
Yeah.
So we got most of the money from them, and then the grant that came through from Teesside Business Compass. And then we got all the new equipment, and we hired a fantastic company in Berkeley called KBR, and they're like a network specialist.
Okay.
So we got them in to configure the firewalls and the switches correctly.
Right.
I could have done it.
So I might be very time-intensive labour-wise to do it.
Because at one point, like, you can imagine all the big whiteboards back behind us. At one point, I had a network diagram drawn out.
Yeah.
And it was a multicoloured network diagram of about 17 different pieces of equipment with all the cables going around it.
Yeah.
It just looked like the London map for the underground. And that was the basis of how we were going to do it. And then I had to translate that into him.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, the reason why we got them is they are a FortiGate specialist, which is the firewall we have.
Okay.
So I said, you can do this much better than I can and do it right.
Yeah.
Versus me, who could do it, it would take 6 months for me to do it, and there's a chance I missed something.
Yeah.
So we got them involved, and we're still working with them now because one of our switches, one of the redundant ones, isn't quite playing ball.
Yeah.
But we think we've worked out why.
Yeah.
And we're going back to the data center for another overnighter to fix it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it led to, I mean, I lost customers from that.
Yeah.
I did, but since then, I probably gained back the ones I've, like, not them, but gained back the same amount back.
Yeah.
So I've actually ended up in a cost neutral, and now, just in the past few days, I'm about to get a bigger VPS customer.
Yeah.
So he'll probably end up covering most of the cost of all this equipment.
All right, brilliant.
So that's why the April thing was a real eye-opener to how much could go wrong, how quickly.
Yeah.
And it also taught us a lot about how we're going to deal with these scenarios.
Yeah, yeah.
So now, obviously, we've got a new phone system that has all those IVRs in place. We also have, if it all goes wrong, who talks to who.
Yeah.
So, because the biggest problem was, if I have to answer the phone, I can't fix the problems.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so I'm spending all this time trying my best to fix something while people are going, is it back up? Is it back up? Back up? And I'm like, leave me alone.
And it will be, yeah.
Yeah, the more you leave me alone, the better. So we've got people in place that if it happens, we route the calls to them.
Yeah.
They field all the calls, log tickets for us, make sure they're all done right, and then when we're getting to the other side, I update them with the progress, and they will then update everybody else.
Oh, good.
So it really has taught us a lot about our disaster planning and everything else.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
So yeah, so working
Horrendous
IT,
at the time, but
it was horrendous. It was a nightmare, and the past 4 months have been similar, but less affecting customers, more affecting me.
yeah, yeah, completely.
So that's the big one for me.
Okay, and then the last one is one particular thing currently that you're obsessed by.
I can't think of one thing. There's probably a few. Well, this is going to sound so daft. Ironically, there's a TV show I'm absolutely laughing myself off at. It's My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. If you've not watched it, go on Netflix, watch it. It's great. That that whole thing, I sit there and watch it with my wife, and like every few minutes I turn and look at her as if that's you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's not. But no, I don't. The problem, because my head's been so in all this upgrade, I suppose really, if I'm honest with you, the upgrade has been my obsessiveness.
Yes.
Because I've moved into a multi-tiered network setup, and with it came a lot of learning for me.
Yeah.
Because working in the IT industry I spent a lot of time maintaining systems, but we didn't deploy them that much.
Yeah.
So having to do it all from scratch has been fantastic.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much from it. I've been trying my best to kind of like keep it all in my head. Because the worst bit is that having to learn like network infrastructure, SAN setups, which is where the NetApp bit came from.
Okay.
And then having to learn multiple stage deployments and having to do all these plans and everything else, it is consuming me.
Yeah.
But in all the good ways. And I look forward to, I'm saying to myself, by the end of this month, we'll have the switch sorted, and then that's the hardware done.
Yeah.
And by the end of Christmas, we've got a new tool we're putting in place to make everyone's life a bit easier.
Oh, fantastic.
And I won't tell too much about it. They'll have to wait and see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Oh,
but yeah,
brilliant.
go watch Crazy Ex.
Yeah. I'll have to put it on the list.
Yeah.
Currently making our way through Making a Murderer. So.
Oh, the wife's watching that too.
Yeah.
If there's a few comedies on Netflix, that'll drive you bonkers.
Yeah. Definitely will that too, because we're always after the next one, so we'll take a look. Okay, so if any of the people have been listening, where's the best place for them to get in touch if they have any kind of queries or they want hosting, etc., etc.?
Well, the best place, first of all, check the website.
Okay.
So it's solblue.uk. So that's SOLBLU.uk.
We'll have everything linked below.
I always have to spell it out because I made the decision to have a small domain name, but really I probably should have just had Solid Blue Liquid.
Yeah.
But that's the first place to go. The second place is call me.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of the business I'm in, I don't talk to people much, because if everything's working, nobody rings me.
Yeah.
Nobody emails in, and generally I only deal with a few tickets a day.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of time to sit and really discuss things with you.
Yeah.
And work out, because I also moderate a forum on Facebook as well. I'm in the UK WordPress support group. So again, come find me on places like that. Talk to me on there, and I'll always say that no question is too stupid.
Yeah.
Because if you think it's stupid, it's only because you don't understand it.
Yeah.
So therefore, you need to know what it is, need to know the answer so that you no longer feel stupid about it.
Yeah, massively.
So if you come to me and you say, I've got a one-page website and it's going slow and I don't know why it's working, and I go, oh yeah, hang on, fixed.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's so silly. I was like, well, yeah, because I deal with it every day. You don't.
Yeah.
So no question stupid.
Yeah.
I might give you a stupid answer, but there's no stupid question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been really good to have a chat with you about everything. Certainly, probably opened my eyes to the hosting side of it, even though I had a rough idea, like working knowledge of it, nothing. So it's been really, really interesting. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been good fun.
No problem. This has been the Teesside Business Podcast. The Teesside Business Podcast is promoted and produced by Person to Person Management. Thanks for listening.